I was just 17 and just started going out with my then boyfriend and now fiance. We would go to this beach, sit, talk, and sometimes make out. Now, the beach has a few huts a few meters away from the shore for shelter. At night, quite a few courting couples would occupy these huts and do whatever it is that they did in the dark. My fiance and I would usually stay on the beach instead of going into the huts, as it's quite dark and I'm a scaredy cat when it comes to the dark. Behind the huts are trees, which led to a swamp and a nature walk track, but it's pitch black at night as there's no lights, so for me, it's a big no. Anyways, one cold night, we were sitting by the beach talking when it started to drizzle. It got heavier and we decided to move into one of the empty huts for shelter. While in the shelter, the rain started getting heavier, but not pouring. My boyfriend rides a bike and he didn't want to ride in the rain, so he insisted we stay till the rain subsided. Of course, teenagers being teenagers, we started making out in the hut. We were both really into it, till we forgot all about the rain, and I forgot about the fact that it was dark. I forgot to mention that the hut has a small window to look out from, which faces the thick trees. As we were making out, we suddenly heard a rustling by the window and immediately pulled apart. We glanced at the window and saw a dark shadow dart away into the area of the thick trees. My boyfriend, thinking it was a peeping Tom, shouted, "Hey!" and ran out angrily and ran after the shadow, leaving me alone in the damn hut. Thinking back, I should have smacked him for leaving me there by myself. He came back and said, there was nobody, couldn't catch the guy. By then, I was scared and wanted to get the hell out. He dropped his glasses when he ran after the man, but when we tried looking for it, we couldn't find it anywhere. At that point, I realized the rain had ceased to a drizzle and I felt strangely cold. I also noticed that the other couples had left, leaving only the two of us. I told him I wanted to leave, rain or not. We'll take a cab and collect the bike the next day. He noticed I was pale as sheet, as he told me later, and felt that we should leave, but he said to take the bike. To get to the bike parking lot, we had to walk on a long jogging path with the forested swamp area to our right. I walked near to it, which meant that it would be behind me if I turned to my boyfriend. My boyfriend is a strong type who doesn't get scared easily, or if he does, he gets scared and he hides it very well. He was talking to me and facing me when suddenly he literally shut his mouth and turned to face the front. I asked, "What? What's wrong?" And he freaked out and told me calmly, "Just walk fast to the bike. Don't look left or right. Just walk, get on, and grab onto me. Understood?" The seriousness in his tone made me really scared, and out of fear, I obeyed his instructions. He grabbed my hand really tight, and I knew something was terribly wrong. When we reached the bike, he revved up, and we got the hell out of there without a word. He dropped me off home after grabbing some coffee, but I was too scared to sleep. He talked to me on the phone, but didn't bring up whatever he saw at the jogging track, and I was smart enough not to ask, even though I was itching to. We fell asleep on the phone at about 4 or 5 a.m. without any disturbances, but I was still spooked out. When I asked him what happened the next morning over lunch, he finally opened up. He said that when he was joking with me and looking in my direction, he saw a dark shadow floating between the trees behind me, seemingly following us as we walked. It was likely the same shadow at the hut, and what scared him was that he didn't hear the shadow making a single sound as it moved. No crunching of the leaves, no branches, nothing. And there seemed to be a few more shadows along with it, like a group, and the vibe he got was intense, like they seemed angry or something. When he asked me to walk fast, he saw from the corner of his eyes that they stopped moving, and all of a sudden, the shadows just seemed to stare at us as we moved off, even as we got on the bike. And what scared me the most was that when he said that, he saw a shadow behind me when he looked at the side view mirror. He felt a heavy presence on the bike, which lifted after we left the beach area completely and reached the coffee shop. So these are a few stories my friend told me about his work as a state beach lifeguard. The state we live in is in the northern part of the US and is one of the more popular beaches in our area. Aside for stupid, drunk, and stoned people, there are also the mentally unstable. And then there's a few stories that he says never really sat right with him. These few occurrences haven't really ever been solved. This happened when my friend was slightly younger and pretty new as a lifeguard, maybe only his second or third year. By this time, however, he was already pretty much ahead of everybody else in the terms of responsibility and compassion. Every so often, they would get a call after the beach closed for the night that a kid would be spotted swimming in the deep end. Well, less swimming and more bobbing up and down and kind of treading water from side to side. The deep end is probably 6 or so feet deep and is dangerous even for adults to go in since there's small occasional sinkholes that can make it much deeper. There's a kiddie section for children that's basically in the shallows where children are supposed to be, and when the beach closes, no one is supposed to go into the water, though you can continue to walk on the beach. Not knowing this, he gets a call to go in and find the kid that's just been spotted, floating around in the deep end. He goes out to the beach and scans the area and spots the kid off in one of the corners of the pool. Since they hadn't taken up the lines yet, he calls to the kid to come in, but the kid just kind of bobs around some more and gives no indication that he's coming out. So my friend is left with no option but to go in after the kid, which he does. My friend is an excellent swimmer and reaches the deep end pretty quickly, only to find the kid had disappeared. Before he goes underwater to search, the kid surfaces past the line, about 10 to 15 feet away, still bobbing and not saying a word. My friend calls out to him to swim his way, but the kid simply sinks back under without uttering a sound. Maybe there was something in the way he did, but it apparently creeped out my friend. However, still being a good person at heart, he also submerges and swims out past the line to follow the kid. This happens about twice more, the kid about 10 or 15 feet away from my friend, silent and bobbing, before sinking back down and resurfacing further away. My friend said he stopped when he realized the sun was down and he could no longer see the beach. He said he turned around and swam straight for shore after the kid sunk down a third time. He called out for water patrol, basically him and another lifeguard in a canoe, but finding nothing, told the park ranger to keep an eye out for the kid. Telling me the story, he said the kid was about 8 or so and definitely not capable of swimming out from the beach for such a long distance and not getting tired. He said there was definitely something eerie and not right about the kid, completely silent and just sinking down out of sight. As I mentioned before, a lot of stupid, drunk, high, and mentally unstable also frequent the beach. Since the beach is also surrounded by a rather dense and expensive state park, this compounds the danger and effort required to save the people if they go missing. This summer, just as they were about to close, they get a report of an old woman who couldn't find her grandson. She seemed slightly confused and dazed, and the guards had to keep questioning her to get answers. They eventually get out from her that he's about 3, and the last time she saw him was in the water. He was playing at the edge of the water, and he just disappeared. So naturally, as according to protocol, they clear the water out and go out in a line, calling for the kid. They get all the way to the deep end and find nothing, so they move off further down the beach and still find nothing. They radio out to the park rangers and the toll booth guard to keep an eye out for the kid. They look out into the water for about another half hour before they get a report of a child matching the missing kid's description near the mouth of the park trail. They take the old lady and go find the kid. He's got a long scratch down one arm and he's wearing the bright blue swim trunks the lady said he had been wearing. However, his water shoes are gone and he had strands of lakeweed stuck to his body. Bear in mind, this is about 2 or 3 miles from where he had been last spotted, and without having been abducted and brought there, it would have been impossible for him to travel that distance in that amount of time. Since he's very little, it's hard to get a clear answer out of him, but the little boy was very adamant that a lady with a big smile let him out here. She promised him chocolate and wore some kind of long dress. She hadn't been anybody he knew, and when he imitated her smile for them, he made a kind of hiss that little kids make when they're talking about monsters. At this point, He wasn't sure if the kid's imagination was getting away from him, but the child also imitated the way the woman walked, which was backwards. I've mentioned my friend is an excellent swimmer. This last year, he's broken all of his swimming records and can go a mile without needing a rest. He's always the one chosen to go for longer rescues, such as if somebody has swum past the lines or fallen from a boat or something. He's also the one who pulls the lines, which are anchored to the floor of the lake with heavy buoys. Sometimes, he says, he'll occasionally experience something holding him down underwater. A few weeks ago, as he was gathering the lines, he very clearly felt somebody settling onto his shoulders, as if sitting there. He dropped the lines and fought to throw the person off, thinking it was one of the other guards messing with him. He managed to throw the person off, but upon resurfacing, he could find no one else in the water with him. Leaving the lines there, he nevertheless went back to shore, gathered the rest of his guards, and gave them a sound, chewing out about not roughhousing in the water, since people can get hurt doing that. All the other guards denied being near the water, and after hearing the story, wouldn't approach the water for the rest of the night. My friend said he'd experienced the sensation before, but never so powerfully. Such as swimming a few times in the morning to get limbered up, he would feel something grab his ankle or wrist. He said it wasn't lake detritus or lakeweed, since he knew the feeling of both. It was as if somebody had grabbed him and wouldn't let him go, but each time the sensation vanished, almost as quickly as it appeared. He had a few more stories, and then stories from the park rangers, who also experienced even crazier stuff, according to his stories.